start with a roll call.
Okay, Mayor Benny.
Here.
Monahan.
Here.
Horn.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Keel is absent with notice, and Brenneman said he would be late today.
Alright. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Otherwise we'll look for a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve our previous meeting minutes for 3/6/2018?
Better wait. Better wait till Brendan gets here.
You gotta abstain.
Gonna say.
Well, we can skip past that part.
Yep.
Alright. Next up, approved bills submitted for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Alright, any discussion?
I do have some questions. I can already get it open.
There's some back here.
Yes.
But that's sure they're gonna be for me.
You remember when we had paper? Oh, there it is.
Okay, that would have been 65 sheets of paper, so it would take a little while too.
Okay, you ready?
Yep. Just gonna try to find it
We
too.
got a 10-foot snow pusher.
Yep.
With attachments.
Yep.
And then later on we got 2 blades?
Yeah. One is for the
What's
skiddy,
for what?
one's for the skiddy, the other one is for the backhoe. The 10-foot pusher is for the backhoe,
Okay.
except for quick attach, and then, the other one's that directional for the skid steer.
72 inches
Yep.
for the.
Yep.
6 foot, right? Is that-
Yep.
So one was custom made, and the other one.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, the one from the 6-foot blade was ordered through, Put Off
Yep.
out of Salem, and the other one is made by Beaver Built. And then we had to have some brackets that were made out of Minnesota somewhere.
And then we wrote a check for $48,803 to the South Dakota DOT. For our portion on the bike trail.
Yep, that was our last payment for the trail, yep.
That was the last payment for Franklin Trail.
Should be, I think all the bills have been turned in,
Okay, so now their account's empty, right, 0?
yes. Well,
Okay.
yeah, these are transferred.
Oh, here's a good one. Where did we put a $459 explosion-proof light
Sewer plant.
at the sewer plant?
Mm-hmm.
Because of
It's
the
in
gas,
that-
that's
it's
why
in
it's
that-
gotta be
Yeah, it's
exploded.
in that bar screen room. It was, the globe was broke on it, and I asked Neil about it today, actually. To replace the globe, we had to send the fixture in, and it was still $200 for just the globe,
Yeah,
and and it was like 6 to 7 weeks out, so.
but that's why it's gotta be explosion-proof,
Yep.
because of the vapor.
Yep, it's in the bar screen area, yep.
Yeah,
That whole building's explosion proof, that's why that building was
Oh.
expensive.
good. Those are my only questions.
Any others out there? Okay, a motion and a second. We'll vote. Nelson?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
And Monahan.
Yeah.
Alright. Next up, got first reading of ordinance 650, which is fireworks sales within the city ordinance.
In my opinion, to wait till Brendan gets here before it's gonna fail. Just saying.
Let's take a look here. See what we got.
Yeah, that's true, it's only first reading, I guess it can fail.
It can fail.
Can't fail, because they'll go with
Let's
this.
talk about the updates that were in there. Go ahead.
Okay.
You made the changes in there from the recommendation from last time. And there were a couple other things that you made some notes about, and what was going on in there, spring and all that.
Yeah, so basically, from, after our discussion at the last council meeting, the changes I made, under section 5.0404, the fireworks sales license application, I clarified item B, we had talked about, that's the liability insurance. We wanted to make sure they had insurance coverage specifically for fireworks sales, and that the insurance coverage was in the applicant's name, not their business name or another entity. So I changed the wording to reflect that, and then I changed item number C to add in the $100 application fee. That seems to be what we decided on to charge for that. And then really the only other area of changes was in the next section, 5.0405, about storage and sales. Item number B, I didn't make any changes to that, but I just wanted the council to know, I did check to make sure that 50 foot is a fire code. That's why it was in there originally from Harrisburg, that 50 feet from any other building. It's a state fire code, so it has to be. And then item number C is what you guys wanted me to take back to the P&Z to talk about, as far as, the way it did read in there was that, it had to meet all city building codes. So then we started talking about the building codes and our zoning regulations, even though it didn't stipulate anything about zoning. So I did take it to the P&Z board and we discussed it. Before I went there, I did talk with Harrisburg because they originally, had it's molded after their ordinance saying, you had this in here, do you have any conflict with your zoning regulations or any problems with the structures meeting the building codes and whatnot? And basically their planning officer says, well, we put it in there, but it's a temporary, all these facilities are temporary structures, they're only up for a week, week and a half, he says, and we don't regulate temporary structures, so it really doesn't mean a whole lot, just as long as they have that egress in and out, way to get in and out of it. So I then contacted CCOG that does our planning ordinances, and I asked them basically the same thing, here's what we're looking at doing. We have these temporary structures. Do you know of anything in our zoning regulations that prohibit them or allow them? And basically I got the same answer. Our zoning regulations do not regulate temporary structures, they're just permanent structures. So permanent structures got to follow our zoning regulations and the building codes. So then basically the options were, we either start regulating temporary structures so we can change our ordinances, whether our municipal or our zoning, we can put in either one to regulate temporary structures. We can not regulate temporary structures and leave that wording out, or we can write something right into this ordinance specifically for fireworks stands, P&Z board talked about it some, and really, we talked about different things. Really, we didn't feel that, they didn't feel we really wanted to regulate temporary structures, because then you're gonna be regulating the hot dog stand up at the BP during the Sturgis rally. The tents out at the farmer's market, it could encompass a whole lot of things when you start thinking about that. And even CCOG said, temporary structures, they're up for a few days and then they're down. How restrictive do you want to be on them? So it was a consensus of the P&Z board to just take that wording out, and that's what I did. So those are the changes since the last time we talked about this.
So we have no real timeline on what is considered a temporary structure? 7 days?
We don't address temporary structure at all, so we have no wording. As of now, currently, we don't.
Technically, it would be down to really what the length of time this license is.
Yeah, so if they put up a fireworks stand, they can only sell during this license period, so, it's gonna be up a week and a half at the most,
Right.
with this thing. I guess one other thing we did talk about that I missed saying is that, we talked about that you can't put the structures, in the right of ways or in the streets or on your own property. So wherever they put the stand up is gonna have to be get permission and put it up either on their property or somebody else's private property. So, with that being said, it's basically that property owner and that applicant that's taking on the liability risk of, something happening, it collapsing or whatever, blowing up, they're taking that liability risk on themselves.
I don't know that we talked about this, but the days of sale and the days that people can shoot them are two different.
Right.
Are we gonna stick with that, or should
days-
they be the same?
The days of sale follow the state, so that's follow state ordinance, and they've got to get a state license first. And then the days they're allowed to to shoot them off. Now, that was set by the city way back then
Previous.
previously, and I just kept the same dates, so, yeah, so you can sell them longer than what you can actually shoot them off in the city.
And we know everybody abides by that and doesn't start.
Oh, all the
shooting.
time, yeah. No problem whatsoever.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 605.
Let's go 650.
650.
What did I say?
605, that's
I'll
all
be
right.
darned. Number dyslexic too.
I knew what you meant.
I will second ordinance number 650.
Got a motion and a second? More discussion? Jones?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Ryan?
No.
And Nelson.
Yes.
First reading, so we'll get to take a look at that again at our next meeting. Okay. Next one, pop up here. It is. First reading of ordinance 651, flat work permits. This one comes out of planning and zoning as well.
Mhm.
Some issues, or some things that could have been an issue in town.
Right. So basically, planning and zoning board's been talking about this for a couple of months, and me and Craig have had some discussion, and basically I brought it to them to consider implementing a flat work permit in the city. Right now, we don't require any kind of permits for flat work, so if you wanna put in a sidewalk, a driveway, parking pad, you don't need to come to the city and get any kind of permit whatsoever, which, you know, it's been fine, we haven't had any major problems, but, you know, this last fall, we had a whole neighborhood, well, I don't know, 4 or 5 houses tear up the sidewalks up on 7. Tear up all their sidewalks, and we didn't even know what happened until after the fact, and we come and saw all the dirt piled up on the streets or whatnot, and we got a little concerned, okay, they put all these in, were they ADA compliant? You know, do they have the 2% slope? And luckily, Craig sent them out there and went and checked them, and they were, but had they not known of the regulations or not been, you know, we would have had to make them tear all that up and redo it. So, you know, we have no way of letting people know on the forefront, you know, what the regulations are out there, or, you know, what easements are on their property, or if they're possibly putting, you know, a patio over a water line or something. I mean, any of that stuff. And like I said, we haven't had any major issues, but we thought a way to get them in the office, just like we do with fence and sheds, you know, smaller sheds, is come and get a placement permit. That way we can talk about your project up front, we can make sure you're aware of all the regulations, and it may avoid possible problems, you know, on the backside that, you know, we certainly don't, you know, nobody's gonna like to go tell somebody they gotta tear out their driveway because of an issue with it or whatnot, and have all that expense on the homeowner. So I checked around to other communities. Most around here do require flat work permits. Some of them charge a fee, some of them don't. Most have a little bit of a fee. We talked about the fees, you know, that we might possibly charge. We don't want to discourage people from putting in sidewalks, because we've been fighting that battle to put them in. So we're suggesting no fee for sidewalks, but a $20 fee any other type of work, whether it be a driveway, parking pad, patio, whatnot. Just per project, we didn't go by size of, you know, some like Brandon, it's how much square footage you're putting in or whatnot. We just decided it'd be a flat fee. And so, like I said, you know, we talked about it as planning and zoning's recommendation to implement this. We thought it'd be a good thing to start, you know, doing, so we can, you know, kind of do this on the forefront. Ordinance 651 would basically add this section into our zoning regulations under our permit section, and 1605 just says flat work permits are required in conjunction, you know, with a project, unless they're covered under an existing building permit. So say you got a building permit for a new home, well, you're required at that time to put the driveway and the sidewalk in, so that's already covered under your building permit, you know. Or if you come in for a new home permit and you specify in there you're gonna be putting a cement stoop in, or, you know, that's covered under there. So if it's not covered under a building permit, then you would need, you know, a flat work permit. So that's what this ordinance would do. And then I did put in there a copy of the proposed application, you know, that they would fill out with the city and come in and.
Do
with the family.
driveways have to be ADA compliant, Mitch?
Through the driveway, if there's sidewalk going through the
The
driveway.
driveways, yeah, the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like I can understand sidewalks, and I can understand where sidewalks go through the end of driveways, I get that with the ADA. But if somebody wants to pour a patio, and they pour it on top of their water line on private property, what's that the city's concern? And if they pour it so it slopes towards their foundation, what's that the city's concern?
Are you asking me? Or?
I'm just
Yeah,
speaking generally.
I mean-
Because if somebody doesn't like grass or rocks or landscaping, and they just wanna pour concrete, what do I care? What do I care what it's over the top of on private property, and what do I care what way it slopes?
Well, the only thing caring about the slope is that, okay, say they wanna slope it on, they pour it right up to the property line and it's sloping to the neighbor's property, then we got an issue with them putting water onto their neighbor's property, which is against our ordinance. So I mean that,
But
And like I
that's
said,
that's a
I mean,
property
that's
owner
their
issue,
problem,
that's
so if
not
they
a
do
city
it,
issue.
they'll have to, yeah, and then the neighbor will come to me and we'll have to make them tear it down, so like I
But you
said,
know,
this is
you know what I'm
just.
saying, there again, that's,
And I know, and going over water line, it is their issue or whatnot, but hopefully, you know, talking to them about the project and let them know you can't push water on your neighbors.
What are we proposing to find if they don't get a permit?
Well, you can
'Cause if
find a
you don't-
violation of
if
an
you-
ordinance.
$200, you're gonna find somebody $200
And
for pouring concrete.
probably not, you know, our fine system is set up if there is a violation and if we send out a letter, give them a chance to correct it. We actually send out 2 letters before a fine goes, and it's $50 the first time. We do a graduated system before we, unless it specifically states in the ordinance, it's $200 or $100, or, you know, if you guys decide that.
So I can do any landscaping I want without a permit, correct?
Landscaping?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can take as much dirt out of my yard, I can put as much dirt in my yard. I can bring in 4-inch landscaping rock, I can bring in sand, gravel. I can bring in whatever I want as long as it's landscaping. I can bring in mulch, I can bring in tree bark. Pile it as high as I want, or dig a hole and fill a hole full of it. And we don't regulate any of that.
Unless you create a berm and you're pushing water into somebody else.
There
Yeah, but
again,
you're-
that's not the city's problem, that's a neighbor problem. So,
But the city will get called, and we'll have to.
yeah, but I don't know,
Yeah.
I understand where it comes into play with ADA, but I don't understand where it comes in with the rest of it. That's just my personal opinion.
I get what you're saying, I think some of those other examples aren't quite as permanent as concrete, and we require permits for buildings in the backyard, and, you know, we require permits to make sure things are compliant with the rest of our codes there. And if I'm going to pour a new driveway and do something with my sidewalk, I'd just as soon have it all covered under one flower permit rather than, yeah, I'm just gonna do my driveway. and-
What about pavers?
We talked about that wouldn't include pavers, cause those are easily digged up, and you can dig them up and move and put them somewhere else versus,
Well, you can take concrete slab out just as fast as you can take pavers out.
well, not just all poured in one, it's gonna cost you a lot more.
I can take pavers out a lot easier than a concrete slab.
Really?
I put
Depends on
them
how
in
big your
one by one.
concrete slab is. If it's a whole driveway, you're not gonna want
You
it.
can get a skid loader under a concrete slab, lift it up, bust it in a junction, haul it out.
I can pick up pavers and move them.
But you can't do it fast enough.
Well,
Probably most people just don't have a skid loader.
Depends on who you know.
Pavers, you can take them out and move them to another spot and still be usable, where you have to break up concrete.
Like I said, I'm on board for sidewalks and driveways, but the rest of it.
Alright, so this is first reading, we're gonna do a second reading. Do we have any other discussion, so any questions, anything needs to get sent back or looked at? Anything to add from planning and zoning perspective, Tony? Alright, do we have a motion to approve first reading?
Make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance 651.
Nice work.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay,
So you want parking pads and patios taken out?
I want everything strictly to sidewalks and driveways.
So that's what I'm saying, you want parking pads and patios taken out. What is
That's
that?
what else is in there. Flat work covers everything in my mind. It's not just limited to parking pads and patios. It's
But that's what, I'm looking at the application mark, here's what it says. So that's how she's got it spelled out. So if those two things were out of there, you would have less problems with it, is that what you're saying?
All I'm saying is that if we're gonna have a permit process, it should be sidewalks and driveways, period, only. I don't care what the application is. Sidewalks, driveways, end of sentence.
I think that's good. Yeah.
So what's the intent of the application? I'm sorry, I came in late.
So we started talking about this, I brought it to planning and zoning, and Craig had some conversations, I think maybe we even had a couple conversations. Basically, on the forefront, letting homeowners know, you know, what the regulations are, especially for like sidewalks, that being ADA compliant, and letting them know, do they have any easements or water lines of the property, or they can't push water into another you know, kind of let them know upfront before they do a project, versus they put in a sidewalk or driveway that's not compliant, and we have to make them tear it out, you know,
What's the definition of flat work?
concrete or asphalt.
It doesn't have anything really to do with the landscape.
No.
So I'm just thinking, there's been cases where people put fences where they're not supposed to in their backyard. If I wanna put a slab of concrete out there for a basketball court in a drainage way, then what?
This isn't restricting anything for going into the drainage.
No, but if I knew I needed a application, then I'd get educated that
Right,
I need to be so far off, right?
right.
And is that the intent here? Okay. To prevent problems.
It's a bit, yes, and like I
Or
said, we
put
haven't had
parking
any
pad
major
too close to the
problems.
neighbor's house.
It's just to be on the forefront to prevent problems.
I'm pretty sure you can forward it up to the property line.
You can, that one.
Or it is, that's between you and your neighbor.
But not back here.
I'm just giving you my thoughts.
I am too. I'm trying to find out what the intent of it is, and that's where I'm reading.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, can I address a few of these? With a lot of the discussion you guys are having here, a lot of there's pieces of this discussion happening in P and Z also. So, and Councilman, I understand what you're saying. Joe Blow wants to do the parking pad at his house. And it's his house, and it's no big deal, it's not ADA or anything, but we also have to remember that this encompasses all properties within the community. So there's flat work that wouldn't be a sidewalk or a driveway, that still could be ADA. It has to be done up to ADA standards. Apartment buildings or commercial buildings, any of those types of situations. This permit covers those applications that would be ADA compliant. If you remove that parking pad or those things that you're talking about, it removes them from the commercial situation where there's ADA compliance that we do need to let somebody know about. So you end up pulling some things into this that maybe don't seem like they would need to be needed. Make sure that you cover the things that should be covered in here.
I would think that if it were on the commercial side, whoever is in commerce would know what they do and do not have to comply with ADA.
You would think so, but then let's remember that we had subdivision street put in this year that got 2 lifts when they were only supposed to do 1. We've got situations with sewer line hookups that, now the sewer line wasn't connected correctly. Other situations, and the sewer line is something that P&Z we're working with construction permits and things to get covered. Even professionals need to be reminded of what it takes to be done and have a permit.
The two that you mentioned, Tony, wasn't for lack of something written on paper in the past. That was for lack of, I guess.
Well, the one, I'll agree with you on the one, on the street, you're correct.
Yeah.
On the sewer situation, no, because there was no permit, there was nothing that had to be done, and there was no inspection that was needed because of what was being accomplished at that time. So, what we're trying to do is we're trying to put an easy system into place. Along with this flat work, you're gonna see grading permits, you're gonna see other things that are coming together in our new, Teresa, help me with what
With the
we're.
subdivision
Subdivision
regulations.
regulations. This came out of our discussions of the subdivision regulations. So a number of these things coming along to help put things in place so we don't have problems going forward. That's where this came from.
Prevent a problem before you have a
Prevent,
problem.
yeah, exactly, help prevent problems before they occur. You know, I think Councilman Brenneman brought up a good point. Fences that got put up in the wrong place, that type of a thing. If someone's gonna pour a dog kennel in the backyard, put in a 10-foot slab and make a dog kennel, they need to know where things are in the backyard, and we have a permit to know that it wasn't put up into a drainage area. Because once they have a permit, we know that that's going in and can check on to make sure that it's not in the wrong spot. We've had enough problems with fences and sheds going in the wrong spots. So again, just help make sure we don't have a problem.
What would be the downside of putting concrete in a drainage area?
Concrete would be bad, it's a fence around the dog kennel.
And depends on how high the concrete comes out of the ground. If it's flat, if the concrete is flat to the surface, probably nothing. If the concrete's 6 inches up out of the surface, it's gonna hold back 6 inches of water in the drainage area.
What would be the downside of having a conversation with that property owner when they fill out their permit before they pour the cement? That's a permanent structure.
Well, if you wanna make the case, what's the problem with having a conversation, then I'll concede and fine, just have application flat, but if you're gonna charge that person $20 to have that conversation, then I think that's wrong. If you're gonna permit flat work, just do it and have it free.
Oh,
Yeah, all.
Do we pay for sheds?
What do we
If
pay
they're
for?
over 120 square feet, you have to pay
If
for
they're
it.
10 by 12, bigger than
If
10 by
there's-
12?
If they're, yeah, if they're over 120 square feet, you do. Under that, you don't place it. Fences, you don't. They're
There's
no
still
fee.
rules where you can and can't place.
Right, but they all have rules.
You have to get a permit.
Yeah.
You still
I
have to
did
have
when
a
I put my
permit.
Yeah, you
shed
still
out.
gotta get a building permit.
No, a shed permit.
No,
Well,
We gotta do something, you can't just throw
it's
them
called a
out.
placement permit if it's 120.
Right, that's,
It's just a
yeah.
building permit above, yep. And they, yeah, and they all got rules, the fences.
You don't
and
need a
shit.
concrete floor either.
I do have concrete.
You don't have to, you don't have to have flat
No,
work.
it's 120.
But if you did, then you'd need a flat work permit.
That's right.
Oh, wait, need a season. Well, I'm glad I got mine done.
So what permits do we charge?
And when Mitch moves it here pretty soon, then it'll be better.
So fences, we don't charge. Accessory buildings, sheds that are under 120 square feet, we don't charge. If they're over that, we do charge them a fee. So the larger ones, be garage, detached garage, or the larger ones, we do. But the fences and the small accessory buildings, we don't charge anything for. Yeah, and I guess excavation permits, we don't charge anything for.
So, I have a question. We have a motion and a second to approve this. Can we make a substitute motion to take the fees out and approve it?
You make substitute motion or
Or
amend.
doing it in the second reading and have it,
Klingways at the second meeting.
huh?
Klingways at the second meeting.
So worry about making the changes at the second reading, not now?
No,
Okay.
I need to know what changes you want now, so you can,
yeah.
so you can approve a clean version.
So do we have to have that voted? We'd have to have that voted on, right? So first we gotta approve this and then we could make a motion to change it or just tell Teresa what we wanna have changed.
I would suggest maybe just make a motion to have her make some changes before the second reading, such as.
Okay, let's call the vote then to approve this and then we'll move forward.
Horn,
Yes.
Brenneman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes,
Monahan.
No.
I'd make a motion that we would advise city administrator to revise the application to remove the fees for flat work before the second reading of 651. We need that also.
Wait a second.
I'll second it for discussion.
Second from Monahan. Any more discussion needed?
So just gonna, in my mind, if we're gonna, I think we should put a square footage on this as well, like we do for secondary buildings, whether you do or do not have to have a permit. You have to have a placement permit, but a building permit.
Yeah, then you're talking about sidewalks. What if I just replace a couple feet of sidewalk and ADA and.
Well, and therein lies the question, because if you just replace, what's sidewalk, 4 foot by, what's a square, 4 by 3, 4 by 4?
Technically, you'd need an excavation permit if it's in the right of way. So the majority of the sidewalks are in the right of way and approaches and stuff like that. There's a few that aren't. But,
In my mind, if you're having a cement truck come out to pour it, you probably need the permit. If you're mixing it up in a barrel in your garage, maybe you don't.
I think we're worried about it way too much.
You think so?
Yep.
So if there's a permit, that means somebody's gonna follow up and make sure it's done right?
So just like our fences are no fee, you know, Paul Clark gets copy of the permit and he goes out and checks them to make sure that they're placed right and. So every permit, yeah, we follow up on whether there's a fee or not.
Let me use one example of that. I did not realize when my cable came into my building, and I was thinking about putting either pavers or concrete on the south side of my garage. Well, circumstance is that's where the cable is going into my house, and if I did not get a permit, and I did not know that, okay, I in essence would, if they would want to put fiber in or something of the sort, I would be obstructing them to be able to do that. Is that correct? And then I would in turn have to remove the concrete and replace it. And so my point here is that I would say a lot of people don't know where all their utilities are coming into their building, into their home. And with this fee in place, I'm sure that they will be reminded and go from there. Real well.
Alright, so we got a motion to amend it to take away the $20 fee. And a second. Any more discussion on that? Okay, now the vote. Monahan?
No.
Jones?
Yes.
Brenneman?
No.
Horn?
No.
And Nelson?
No.
Alright.
I do have 2 more questions before we address this at the next meeting. What's the city's role in inspecting this? Are we gonna have to inspect the framing, say for a patio, to ensure that it doesn't slope towards the house?
Well, you're gonna wanna check all the sidewalks for ADA
I'm
compliant or
not
driveways
talking
need
about
to be
sidewalks,
ADA
I'm talking
compliant.
about other flat work. If the other flat work is framed horribly, are we gonna deny a permit because it's framed horribly? And my second question is if we do permit it, and it goes in over something that the city is unaware of, like has happened numerous times, and then something does happen, I can imagine the person saying, I got a permit, the city told me to go ahead, and the city pretty much blessed me to put it over the top of X, Y, and Z. And now I gotta tear it out, because the city didn't tell me X, Y, and Z was underneath that concrete.
The
They say
applicant,
that should be in on the
The
application, it says to call
application-
for your underground utilities.
yes,
Right here.
it does. The applicant makes them responsible for calling a one call, so they know where all the utilities are.
Just saying, I just wonder how much liability the city's exposing itself to with this.
Anything else for prevention?
Like I said, all area towns except Lennox, I think, have a flat work permit. Brandon, T, Harrisburg, Dalles, Canton, I think was on the list too. Lennox, I know, didn't have any kind of flat work permit in the process, but I think everybody else around here does.
Alright. Move on. Alright, we'll move to reports. First, actually, we're gonna quick jump up to the top here a minute. I think we got Brendan back in. And look for a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting, 3/6/2018.
So moved.
There's a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Vote. Nelson?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Berman?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
And mine. Okay. Alright, we'll move to reports then. Fire department report, Chief Schmidt.
Good evening. Quick recap of February calls. We ran 19 total calls. 13 of them happened in the city limits of Hartford. Some training recaps. February on the EMS side, we dealt with at-risk patients, primarily elderly and infants, along with quality assurance, quality improvement, and then additional training on our LifePack AED. Fire side, we covered basic skills, ladders, ropes, structural search, and firefighter down recovery drills. March, last night on the EMS side, we trained on waveform capnography and end-tidal CO2, and what that is, it allows us with this LifePack on a full arrest patient or a respiratory distress patient to evaluate the oxygen perfusion in the body and how good of a job the patient's doing from a respiratory rate, or how good we are doing assisting with ventilations. On the fire side coming up, we are going to be training on firefighters, structural bailout, how to get out of a building in an emergency if we need to. Also be training on reading a fire and situational awareness, and items that will lead to a potential mayday or a firefighter in trouble in a structure fire inside a building. So working a lot on the safety side. Quick update, Metro Communications in Sioux Falls recently updated their dispatch system. Still working through a few bugs, getting most of those ironed out now, but it should be a much better system moving forward for dispatches within the county. And also county chiefs are working on finalizing a renewal and updates to the Metro Area Mutual Aid Agreement, which brings in all the fire departments within Minnehaha County, in addition to T. Harrisburg and Canton, into a large mutual aid agreement for the area. So, questions?
No?
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Alright, the city engineer report, Mitch?
Yep, last couple of weeks, our office has been pretty well focused on making updates to Nicholson Road plans. We got our comments back last week from the DNR, so they had a pretty quick return to us. So we've been making those updates. We made some updates that staff had. And so we had sent the advertisement to the paper last week. It'll be advertising this Thursday and next Thursday. We're planning the bid opening of April 6th. So things are sitting pretty good there. We did have a meeting with the rural development loan people today, and they're reviewing the plans also and doing some of their work to get the loan set up. There's a potential that they might need a little bit more time to do some of their reviews. There's a potential that we could end up having to move that bid date back a week or two, depending on where they're at with their stuff. But we don't know that answer yet. We're evaluating with them. Teresa's gonna be following up with them tomorrow to get some more information on the loan side, but there's potential we might have to push it back. There's a potential we might not have to do anything at all, but we'll continue to monitor that. Other than that, we're focused on the Swenson Park Sports Complex, getting those plans ready. We're trying to get those ready this week. From there, we'll go right into the Vandermark Avenue project and get that sewer job designed and get that ready for you. On the force count side, we've got a meeting tomorrow to review city map updates. Been working on the National Landing Plan review a little bit. Let's see, South Street topo and grading plan. And then we're gonna get an exhibit to Teresa that shows the contours and stuff that we laid out for those South Street lots, so that there's an elevation plan there for you guys to reference. South Main Edition plan review, that was a DEP construction set of plans that we reviewed for that development. And then helped with the fence encroachment on 604 Crestman Trail, and a couple of plat reviews.
604, where is that the one right there?
That's on Crestwood and Nicholson.
Yeah, that'll be coming up. Basically, Jeff Thurn called me and asked, so if you would buy the property for the city just where the fence is there, would that affect the drainage at all, or is that a possibility at all? And I said, well, it's all gonna depend on if we need that for drainage or not. So I called Nish to ask his opinion, and he didn't think that 1 or 2 foot there would change the drainage at all. So I haven't even called him back on that to relay that back to him if he wants to go down that road or not. I'm thinking he will, but, so I'll be back in touch with him and see what he wants to come.
Buy that property?
Yeah,
So,
that's what he indicated
so
to
then
me.
what, there's a replat?
Yeah, he'd have to replat it at his, I would think we'd want him to replat it, or, I don't know if you can just deed a foot or two. Or,
No, you want to.
I think you'd wanna replat it on the
Well,
drainage.
How about we go down the road to having to move the fence? How about we go down that road?
Yep, and I told him, I think he's trying to think of a way not to move the fence. But,
So there's a
I'm
little
just forewarning
jag,
you.
there'd be a little jag in the property line when it comes, in that.
Well, I think he just changed the property of the whole, like the foot or whatever the fence is
Right.
over, and make it line up, so wouldn't be a jag.
Okay.
I think he'd want all the way to the or to his, property line. I'm
Okay.
assuming, I haven't seen anything or asked any more about it, so.
The
Mitchell,
fence
just
can be
more.
right up to the property line.
Huh?
A fence can be right up to a property
A
line.
fence can be right up to the property line,
I'm not interested in selling.
yeah, so, just forewarning you.
The rural development loan and the engineering plans that are needed for that. Did they get a preliminary look at that back when we were working on that, or how? What's different now from what they?
Yeah, we sent them a couple different reports along the way.
Mhm.
And so this preliminary engineering report, they actually sent them 2 different reports. We sent them the facilities plan that we did last year sometime, and then we sent them another report later on. And it's just part of their process. They have to have this final engineering report, and that's what we got to get to them. They have to review that. They have to get a sign off from Schipple is another one that they got to get signed off on. and that's part of their environmental process. We've already done like the FEMA work and the wetland work, you know, normally that would be something they'd have to get signed off to, but they're already signed off on. You know, it probably comes down to these 2 weeks that we tried to shave off with some of our review. It probably kind of snuck up on us here, so there's a potential we might have to go back and get that 2 weeks back, so we have more time to review. But we just met with them today. They've got a copy of our plans. They're gonna try to turn things around as quick as they can on their end so that they don't delay things for us.
Okay. Well, as we're looking for a bid date of April 6th, we have one. When are you gonna know, do you think, from rural development?
I think we'll have a better idea tomorrow.
Even by
So I
tomorrow?
don't know, sooner it depends on the banks get back. I think this week, we'll know.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So the other permit, Mitch, that you need to get the box culvert in,
Yep.
have you submitted that, where are we at on that?
That's actually right here. Teresa just gave me the signed copy, so we'll be sending that email to them.
Okay.
So Mitch, going back to Crestman Trail fence encroachment, how were you involved with that?
Well, Teresa just asked if drainage wise, if that encroachment of that fence poses any issues, and I went out and looked at it, and to me, it doesn't pose any issues with the drainage, the way it's sitting there, it's just a foot there. But it's completely up to you guys whether you wanna sell the property or not.
But what I'm getting at is the city administrator called you to see if that's an option, and I don't understand why it's not just move your fence. Cause now we got you involved, and I'm guessing you're not doing that pro bono.
Right. And
So now we're spending taxpayer money to find out whether we can sell a foot by whatever land to this individual because he put his fence in the wrong place, instead of just saying, move your fence.
See your frustration, but if he asked,
I say,
don't we owe it to him to get him an answer?
I say, a landowner came and asked me about it. We've done it a couple times, and them looking at drainage ways where sheds and fences have been in to get their
But he
opinion
didn't
impeded.
ask the council if that was an option.
But he
Way
asked,
back when, I mean,
yeah, he tried to buy it a while back,
yeah.
after we filled it in. Or before we filled it in, whatever it was.
But didn't we have discussion on this, and we said that he should be advised that he had to move his
Yes,
fence?
and I did advise him of that, and that was getting later in the fall. He asked if he could have it to spring, and I said okay to that, you know, could it be easier to move? Well, now it's getting towards spring, he's gonna have to move it, so I think he wants to know, is this a possibility if he buys just, you know, where the fence
I
is?
thought we made it.
Then at first he wanted to buy, what do you wanna buy, 3-4 feet in there? I mean, he wanted quite a more space than what was actually where the fence was, so, and that's when I did contact, mention, cause I said, well, if it's gonna impede the drainage, I mean, it's absolutely no, but, you know, if it doesn't, then that maybe could be an option, but you'd have to approach the council about it, so that's when I, you know, got his opinion.
Sounds good. We'll see how that turns out, and we'll address that when it makes an agenda item.
Yeah, I'm sure
So,
then,
Yep.
like I said, I haven't even called him to let him know Mitch's opinion yet, so, but I'm sure, like I said, give you a heads up, that's his thought.
Looking at that. Yep. Okay. Any other questions for Mitch?
Yes. I'm reluctant to even ask this question, but since we're talking about forced accounts and pro bono, my understanding that at noon on Thursday, you're gonna be meeting with the Bike and Rec? At least your staff?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's warm, yeah.
Okay, I don't see it on forced count. I don't recall, I seem to remember the procedure of if any organization like Bike and Rec was consulting with Stockwell's, that we would need to see has some kind of initial, have you been contacted?
We've been donating
not been
that service.
contacted?
You have?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
If you look at the the list of what their bill is, you'll see a few different $0 signs. They've donated all of that
Okay.
time. So every once in a while, I'll see that on there, and I'll make sure to put that on your stuff so you see what they are not charging you for.
Well, I just wanted, because I know that's gonna happen, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to
No,
make
it's-
sure that, you know, there's something that wasn't unexpected there, or just make sure that we understand the protocol. If that changes, please
No,
advise
I
us.
mean, me and our staff, we know that, you know, unless directed by the city administrator, you know, that we don't have the ability to just go and do those services
Right.
without that approval.
Okay,
Yeah, we've been donating the service for the development of these signs. We've actually have made a donation as well, a
Yes, you
monetary
have.
donation to a sponsor, so we're gonna be sponsoring this particular sign.
Yep.
So,
okay, thank you, that clarifies that, and that's all I have.
Nothing else, we'll move on. Thank you, Mitch.
Yep.
All right, Craig, Public Works.
For streets, slurry seal, still waiting for a pre-con meeting on that. I anticipate sometime in April. They usually start in June in Sioux Falls, and they're usually about July when they come out in this area. Mag water, I did get a hold of Jim at Bumblebee Gibson last week, just to make sure that we did have mag water booked for both this, what we normally do, and then the additional 5,000 or whatever, 4,000 gallons, whatever it was, so. That is locked in and ready to go. Payloader, I was gonna have Teresa put this on the agenda for tonight, but I had her remove it here the other day. Had a couple of salesmen show up and wanted me to look at their loaders and get prices from them, so kind of between things right now with that, so. I did look into what Mark had asked about, buyback. The ones I talked to don't like to do that, they said they will, but you'll be paying more upfront, and it'd be, you wouldn't be buying it off the NJPA pricing, you'd have to go for bids to do that, to get it set up that way, or if you can find another city that's already done the legwork on it. I did have a salesman show up, from another dealer that has a lease thing that they are trying to run through. I crunched the numbers of what we had on our last one, and it'd be about twice of what we, you know, like per monthly basis of what we had for the other one, because, I'm not gonna, I don't wanna give any numbers right now on this here stuff, in case we end up having to go for bids and that stuff, but, basically, kind of at a hold right now. We're gonna go in and try to demo the other ones and make sure that they're something that we would be interested in, and make sure it's gonna hook up to our equipment and stuff like that before we move forward, so kind of at a little bit of hold right now. I would even like to wait until after, the street association meeting, cause we are having NJPA representative from them come out, and then we're also having South Dakota legislative audit come out, and we're gonna make sure that everything's clarified on the purchasing, make sure it's all legalized, so we are gonna have some pretty good discussion on that over the 2 weeks, or 2 days.
How far is that out, Craig?
It'll be at the middle of next month, 23rd, 24th, something like that, so it's close, I mean, we're not too far out of it. I'll skip over some of this here, go down to water. We did have a service line leaking on Kelly. In the last 2 years, we've had about 4 of them up in there, and I'm pretty sure this will not be the last one. There's some pipe that got put in the ground about 40 years ago. It might have been okay plastic back then, it was still light at them days, and now it's getting brittle and it's breaking, and so I have a feeling we'll be doing some, not us so much, it's the homeowner's responsibility. This one we did dig down because it was not surfacing, but the street was getting soft, so we dug down to verify what it was. Once we verified it was a service line, we turned it over to the homeowner, so it has been fixed.
Given that real quick, I'm sorry, you don't gotta jump on this, do you, with this ongoing circumstance of, service line and stuff, you say it wasn't clay?
It's PVC, it's service line, water service.
Yeah, right,
Yep.
okay. Given that circumstance, does Kelly, in your mind, get moved up in the CIP at all?
I don't see it, and here's the reason, it's gonna be an expensive street because the
Yes.
drainage is terrible up there.
Preaching to the choir.
And when it does come in, I would really, knowing about that development and how it got put in,
Yeah,
is what I'm gonna say. It would be one of
Fair
those that we'd probably do some sewer and water work up in there, so it's gonna be an expensive street.
enough.
I think we've got some other, I mean, it's a doable street right now, we do have services up in there. You know, it's not ideal, but I think we've got some other projects that are still above it, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your take, cause that's not the first time I've seen it.
Yeah, when I was up there the other day, the drainage up there's terrible.
How much does that cost the homeowner, that homeowner?
I couldn't tell you, I don't,
Okay,
a few $100, $1,000, I don't know,
okay,
you know.
okay.
So I give them some names and we try to work with the contractor to get the water shut off and make sure we keep everything moving as smooth as we can up on projects like that.
Yeah,
And then that's up to the homeowner and contractors.
got it.
It's
Okay.
not bad.
That done?
I did the same thing I had, wasn't it?
Well, yours was the riser itself had to be dug up and replaced. For this, they actually replaced the service line from the corp, which is on the main, to the curb stop. So there
Oh,
was,
then that might have been.
so it's gonna be a little more than what yours was, but.
All right. Thank you, Craig.
Sewer, we did receive one of the volutes, and we ordered the other one like a week later than that, plus I'm waiting for wear ring, which we do need to have in this new volute, on that pump number 1. I look for that stuff to come in this week, and if it doesn't, we'll either get it together this week yet, or first thing of next week, as soon as it gets in. Everything's been working well out there, we haven't had any issues with it, the pumps are pumping similar hours, so it's telling me that the pump's still hanging in a pretty good shape, so. But as soon as we get that in, we will be rebuilding that pump and getting that, that'll be the last one that has to be rebuilt up there, or now, anyway. Lagoons, we did take samples in. Our ammonia is a little bit too high right now. We make the daily limits, but we will not make the 30-day average, so I don't dare discharge it this time. What I'm hoping for is that once this weather breaks and that pond opens up, gets ice off it, we'll start getting some wave action out there, and that'll help that ammonia come down. I told the guys, if it hasn't broke up by Monday, we're gonna move it from 2 to 3, just to get it to open up faster and get it moving, so. I'd like to discharge in April with this year, and I'm pretty sure we'll make it, we'll be monitoring pretty close, so. Park, dog waste containers, since I put this together, we did get confirmation from the county that we will not be allowed to put these in their right away. So I did send an email over to Troy, just to let him know about it. Same way with the bench, so they're gonna have to look at some other options for that stuff, so. Some of it might be like a bench, and might be such a thing as they work with the cemetery and maybe put it on private property. DOT's been good about it, so we haven't had any issues with them. They'll probably continue to let us put stuff on the edge of the right of way, just depending on what it is, so. But, yes, right now the county's pretty adamant that we are not putting anything in the right of way. They kind of mentioned to us that if we wanted to take the road over, then we could do what we wanted with it, and we both kind of laughed at him, so. For the sports complex, we'll be talking about the water here a little bit, just touch up on electrical. I did meet with Ryan out there, today. We've got some options that we're looking at, and Travis called me today to talk to me about it a little bit. I'm gonna be meeting with Tom Smith back. Sounds like, Sioux Valley's gonna try to work with us. Some of the electrical down even, maybe in the future, that line that has to go to the, future building down there. Tom will be able to volunteer his time and use Sioux Valley's trencher to put that line in, and they'll kind of work with us. They mentioned stuff on a grant. I think the 10,000 that they are planning can be real doable, so I think we'll be okay there. Like I said, we'll be talking about the water here in a little bit. The only other thing, basically just Teresa and myself were at that meeting, DOT, they did pick a consultant firm, and now they're gonna start doing moving ahead with it, seeing where traffic counts are and come up with ideas and kind of go from there. So they're supposed to be wrapped up on September of 2019, and then after that, the project's just gonna kind of sit there, I believe, until either that gets hit or 2025, so. The municipal league I mentioned about last week, I mentioned about having Jesse come do it, and it's actually Neil's turn to go to the street one and Jesse's for the other one, so I just wanted to either get that changed or clarified, or if you guys are okay with it, so. And that's all I have, so.
Okay. Do you just need a consensus to council, or do you need a motion to change that from,
That's not on the agenda,
was it even a motion?
It's not on the agenda.
It has to be
so
consensus
I said
since it's not-
consensus.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just switching out.
is it? One person for the other.
Just, all I gotta do is
switching
get
out
hold of them and
those.
get the name switched on the card.
I got a question, Craig, that, where they're working on Oak, I don't even know what that development's called, that runs the long ways.
Yeah, I know what
Like
yours is.
Oaks Peterson's?
Yep,
Yeah, so that approach that they put in with that culvert,
it's temporary.
so are we okay if we get a thaw or a big rain, or is that gonna?
It's, I believe it's the same size as the other culverts.
Okay,
Um,
I drove past there today and I thought, boy, if we get a big rain, I wonder how that would.
It might be a little dirty at the ends, I can look at that tomorrow and
Okay.
see if they need to do some cleaning out on it.
I was just curious, I noticed that today and I thought that could be an issue. I knew it was temporary, I just was curious if.
Okay, I'll take a look at it and just verify it, so.
Okay.
Anybody
Any
else?
questions for Craig? Alright. Thank you. Alright, and finance officer report, project.
Okay, so you'll look at my report, it has, the cash and sales tax revenue that you'll see a comparable from last year. You'll kind of notice that the first, second, third penny is down, that's, again, because, the second payment that we usually get in February didn't hit till March 2nd. So it just looks like it's a little down, I think we're actually doing okay in that area. I've also provided the committee funds, and then just let you know a little bit of the extras on the bill report that I wanted to highlight so that you had some description on that. We are still advertising for summer employment at this time, so if you know of anyone, send them our way. And then I've also included a calendar of events. Any questions?
I did have a question in the reconciliation, I believe it was reconciliation. There was a check that was circled for $46 and something. I was just curious why it was circled.
Yeah, so I reconciled the bank accounts and the checks and balance. I circled that one because my bank statement was off. And what it ended up being is that our computer system showed $1 amount for this check, but the actual check printed a different dollar amount. And couldn't figure out how in the heck that could happen. Verified that what the bank showed was what the check showed. And what happened was when she was doing her, it was through payroll, right? 'Cause
Yep,
it was
payroll.
doing her payroll, there, was it the flex payment wasn't set up right, or was
It's
the
actually,
task?
it was task.
Yeah, so one of our employees, their task amount changed, when it was entered in there, it wasn't set up correctly, and so it was calculated for the one amount. We then found out that it wasn't set up right, so,
So I had called the company to say, okay, how do I fix this, go back, and I went through what they told me to do. The only thing they didn't tell me to do, and I probably should have gone back, is check the checks that were already printed, because once we recalculated it recalculated it for the amount it should have been, but the one check was not printed that way.
so she printed them off once after it was first calculated, but it wasn't correct. She recalculated for the correct amount, so then our computer system was right, but didn't reprint the checks for the correct amounts. So that's where the discrepancy was. We called our software company, and everything's good in our software. She just ended up having to do a manual check to make the correction with the bank.
So, yeah, so that
So
Yeah.
that 48, 46, that's a manual check to make things right?
no, that's the short check.
Oh,
So
that's
you'll
the
see a
short.
manual check next month.
Yeah,
Oh,
next
okay.
month we'll have.
Because we didn't find this out till after.
All right, I was just curious.
Yep.
Yep.
There's some. Took me a while to find it.
Yeah.
Alright, any other questions for Audra? Alright, thank you. Alright, and city administrator report. Teresa.
Okay, and on my part, just wanna let the council know, Minnehaha County did hire a deputy to be here during the daytime. He'll be Tyrone Albers, and most of you probably know him. He was a previous resource officer with the school, so he's very familiar with the people and the kids and the town, so, you know, that'll be a good thing to get him up and going. He will start, the 26th will be his first official day here with the city, and like I said, he'll be our new daytime guy. The cell phone number will all still be the same because it's the city cell phone number, so the cell phone number you got for him, that doesn't change at all. Roger Haugo, I tried calling him a couple times. I was out at the office a couple days last week, and I tried calling him before I left, didn't get a hold of him. When I was gone, of course, he called, and Rhonda said I was out, but he said he is going to stop in this week and talk to me about the Vandermark right away. Hasn't been in yet, but he said he'd be in this week, so well, hopefully he'll show up.
Do you want to take bets on that one?
Yeah, I bet he will.
Really?
Last time he said he'd be in, he came in, so
Good.
I have faith in him. And just to let you know, the employee manual committee review, we're gonna meet, we've met once already, we're gonna meet again tomorrow night. Probably we'll have to have an additional meeting, if that 1 or 2 meetings, and then, like I said, we'll be coming to the council with our recommendations, of any changes, if any. Boulevard trees, we're still working on that. Just give it a little update on the P&Z. They are, after their meeting last week, we talked about, you know, joint jurisdiction with the city council. We talked about, you know, getting that, we do want to establish that, and then we talked about looking into expanding our plating jurisdiction. You know, right now we have plating jurisdiction for our growth area. We did look at expanding that out. The P&Z board talked about it, and so we've got a plan in place to go, you know, past the other interstate exchange, go a little further south, a little further north. So we're gonna start going through that process to update that first. Basically, we're gonna have to update our comp plan, do another resolution, pass that, and get that established. And then once we get that expanded territory established, we'll move forward with the joint jurisdiction and keep that same area so that they, you know, are coincide with each other, they're not different. So we'll get the plain jurisdiction expanded and continue to move forward with the joint jurisdiction on that. And then the last thing, just let you know, we're working with our seasonal positions. The deadline for pool manager, assistant pool manager, and the park rec director, we're all up. Amy Seabird applied again for the pool manager, and I did hire her again. She's been with us about 11 years, I guess it is. So I hired her again, gave her a quarter bump like the job description states, so she'll be coming back. We usually hire 2 assistant managers. We only had 1 applicant, and that was Paige Hanish. She had lifeguard with us for a couple of years, not last year, the previous, a couple of years ago, but she has 2 years experience lifeguarding with us. She knows the pool and our procedures, so hired her as assistant pool manager. She's taken elementary ed actually, and she's was good as a lifeguard. We didn't have any issues or problem with her, so I think she'll be a good fit. Starting her out at $11 an hour. And then park rec director is gonna be Laura Johnson once again. She's been with us the last 3 seasons too, and she's done a great job. She does well with the kids, and I mean, she plans all the activities, needs minimal help or supervision, so she's done really good. That position had always been $12.50 a season. We talked about this during job description time, and it had been that way for years, and so the last 3 years, that's what she's got. I did bump her up to $13.50 this year just to give her an incentive and reward her for, you know, doing a good job with the city, so we started off with that. So all the other positions are still open till the 23rd. We did extend the pool manager position, or assistant manager, I should say, since we need 1 more applicant for that till the 23rd, so we'll see what we get at that time, or whether we'll need to extend any more out. And like Roger said, know anybody? Mention it to him, if he's looking. So.
Pilfering in the streets.
How's this new temporary, or this seasonal employee process working? Is this?
Yeah, it seems to work good so far, yeah. I've interviewed, so, like the turnaround time's quicker for them, you know, to know, what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, And the last, thing I have on the agenda is that, the South Dakota Municipal League, the City Manager Association is holding their spring training. They hold it every year, they have an annual training course for city managers and administrators. I haven't gone to the last couple, there's been things going on here, or somebody's been gone and haven't been able to make it, so I would like to attend this one if possible, for it. It's gonna be out in Pierre, April 11th and 12th. It doesn't really start until later in the evening on the 11th, so we're gonna be able to come in and work for a while in the morning, then drive out to there, and then I'd be back, later on the 12th. It costs the registration fee for that, a night's hotel, and then I'll just take the staff car, the mileage, so.
Make a motion to, let Teresa attend the South Dakota City Management Association Conference on April 11th and 12th.
Motion and second. Alright, more discussion? Alright, Matt? Jones?
Yes.
Horn? Yep. Nelson?
Yes.
Brenneman?
Yes.
And Monahan?
Okay, go ahead.
Alright, any other questions for Teresa?
What, did I miss something with Debbie Ford at the last meeting, or?
Yeah. She took a full-time spot with the guard, right? Guard.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, probably the one you were gone, yeah, she took a full-time position with guard, so.
Yeah.
She's left and we're looking for a new officer.
Alright, move to old business. We've got water at the sports complex on there. And Craig, I'll probably let you start out here a little bit. I know you guys worked together on this a little bit. We got some drawings in our packet on this.
Okay. So we got together with Matt on this here and, kind of tried to see what their needs were, what they're hoping to get for the 15,000 and what we could put together to get it in that area. I kinda had a layout that I'd like to do with it, and after I was kinda looking at it, on this front page that you got here, there is a blue line that's 280 feet, and I would propose to put that in as an 8-inch water main, where we take that part of it out of the water fund, because eventually that line will extend to the east, and we'll connect to that other property. It'll be a loop basically for our system, and also it could be a future loop for out there, just loop their water lines in down the road. So that was the first part of mine, and that basically what we're gonna be doing is be about 280 feet of 8-inch water main, which is our standard size. And we'd put an 8-inch T in there, 8x4 T, on a couple of valves, then we'd extend it another 20 feet. Basically, you just get right to the edge of that gravel, maybe into the dirt just a little bit there. And we'd just cap it at that point. And then from there, when I was looking at it, the rest of that, I'd consider that more of a service line, which is actually water that's servicing the sports complex out there. When I measured it up, I kind of went out and looked it over and laid it out. At first, we were thinking about doing this where we could probably blow it out every fall, take the meter out, take the dual check valve out, and just basically drain everything down every year. As we got looking at it, the hydrants that I'm proposing to put in are all drain back hydrants. So if we left the line down at that 5.5, 6 foot level, put a meter pit in so we can keep everything down below, we can basically keep this whole system charged. We wouldn't have to drain it down. We could get it chlorinated once and have it safe drinking water. And basically in the spring of the year, we'd shut that 4-inch valve off in the fall. In the spring of the year, we'd open up, flush the lines, and we'd be ready to go with it. We wouldn't have to worry about taking the meters out or anything like that, or getting down that pit. So when I started pricing it out, I was doing pretty good until we got to the 4x6 concrete meter pit. It was about $2,500, and that was just a quick price from Chemcast. Sometimes we could find a damaged one that might be cracked. Even if it ain't exactly 4x6, we can make it work. We just gotta have enough room to get down in the pit with an entry hole, or a manhole in it, and be able to put the meter in, and if we have to do any service work on it, just to get down in there to do any service work. The other thing is there might be something at Jostin's or Jostin's septic system. They might have a base that we could use and just have a top made to put on it. So there's some options there. We might be able to save some money. labor-wise for both of these, I am just throwing that out there for a number. I just kinda figured out what, I thought we could dig in a day. When I say like 8 days, it might take us 2 weeks to 3 weeks, but it's because we're jumping back and forth. I mean, I would love to have 2 guys just sit out there and just dig and keep going. But in the majority of the time, we'll only need 2 guys out there, 1 guy digging, 1 guy throwing, we're trying to put all the pipes together, most of it like the 4-inch up on top, and just lower it on down, you know, if we have to get down and trench them, it's nice to have 3 guys around just for safety and stuff, so. But like I said, I kinda went over this map, and I said I was gonna bring it up to the council about as far as the 8-inch line, as far as being that a water main and having that on a different fund, and then also what their cost would be, and if they'd be willing to go a little bit extra to do it. I would like to say, do it right. On this printer, there's 2 bigger red dots. They were basically fire hydrants, but they're not your typical fire hydrant. They don't have the big steamer nozzle on it, and I believe they've only got 1 2.5-inch nozzle on it. But they're still the 6-foot bury, they still drain back and everything like that. Basically, they're just used for flushing or for watering purposes. The small dots out there are basically like your farm hydrants, is what I call them. You just got the handle lift up on it and they drain back, you know, as long as they're put together right and everything like that. We probably wouldn't need 5 of them out there, but when I was looking at the ball fields, when I was out there measuring stuff out, I thought, okay, so we put this over here so it's got access to the diamond there, hose down the egg line, keep dust down. So you have it there, and then all of a sudden you got the team showing up. Who gets the water? Is it the home team or the visitors team? So, you know, you might have some people kind of complaining about it. So they're only $130 a piece or $140 a piece, little extra digging and stuff like that. I figure you might just do it, put them in. That way they can run hoses from both sides, water down quicker if they need to. You'd have, both sides would have their own drinking water right there. If they choose to drink out of a hydrant. And the meter and the meter pit and the dual check valve, there's some expense there. I'm going to a 2-inch. I did talk to Mitch a little bit, and he says it's what the ones that Sioux Falls typically go with, is just 2-inch meter. A 2-inch meter will give you right around that 200 gallons a minute, maybe a little bit more. If you go to a 3-inch meter, you're looking at about 300 gallons a minute. If you go to a 4, you're looking at about 400 gallons a minute. But between the 2 to the 4, the price doubles, if not more. So I mean, there's quite a bit of difference, and 200 gallons a minute should do a lot for what they need to do. Down the road, if we think we need more, this will be a meter pit. We can just cut it, take it out, put a bigger meter in, 10 years, 15 years down the line. I mean, you can always add on, at least the way this system is here, you can add on, you can do a sprinkler system down the road, easy enough, and still have everything set the way you would work out, so.
So the way it's set right now, if a sprinkler system was put in 10 years from now, the way it is now is good enough to
Yep.
tap in.
Yep.
Cool, good job.
And the 4,800 that you have estimated for hours in there, the estimate for the council to know, have a good idea of hours. It's not hiring any outside help or anything like that.
That's just,
It's
that'd just be
staff.
us, yep.
Okay.
I don't see any need to hire any outside help for this.
Why is the meter pit so far to the south, right?
The reason why I put it over there is it's out of the way. It's out of, you know, the area in there. It's only 120 feet from the other run. It gets it out of the driveway. It's off in the grassy area over there. Down the road, if you decide to extend or put the other building in there, you just run a 1-inch line, tap off of that and bring a 1-inch service line.
Is it 460 feet from what you're proposing the 8-inch main is down to the pit, or is it 230?
It's 460 from the 8-inch main to the meter pit. And
One
then,
way.
and then, yeah, and then if you go back, it's 120 feet. We're gonna lay these lines, if this is what we go with, we're gonna lay those lines in the same trench. So when we
Yeah,
lay-
but so if you lay them in the same trench, cause you have it coming out of the meter pit and then going another 460 foot north plus an additional whatever to the hydrant.
Yep, so,
So why can't you just come off that main and go north, instead of running another 460 foot of pipe?
metered, we wanna keep all the water metered. So everything's gotta go, that's why it's going, everything's going to that meter pit first, is so we can calculate, or know exactly how much water's going everywhere.
So really, it's gonna cost us 460 foot of pipe to put the meter to the south.
Yeah.
and get it out of the way.
Mhm.
How much 460-foot of pipe cost?
That pipe was, I can get you exactly over here on that 4-inch.
You know what I'm saying, cause you're running clear down there, and then
Yep.
you turn it around
Yep.
after you meter and running clear back
Yep.
up north.
And the reason why I did, we had to go down, to that other line that goes off to the east. So basically, you're only going 120 feet further than you'd have to go anyway. The line would be longer, but we're getting the meter pit out of the driveway, so if trucks come in there, you don't have to worry about it getting crushed. I mean, just like your septic systems, you don't drive across concrete if you can, you try not to. This would be the same way, in order to find across it, I wouldn't bring a semi across it. Just a second, I'll tell you exact cost of that pipe. Thought it was like $1 something a foot.
That all it is,
Yeah, it wasn't,
for 4-inch.
yeah, 4 inches, I wanna say it's like, less than $2 a foot.
What did we say we were gonna, was it 15?
15 is what?
Was gonna come out of the sports complex?
Right, and, after I met with, Craig and Teresa on this yesterday, I reached out to our membership and, kind of gave them the update and put out the question as far as would they be willing to, put in that extra, what it would be, that 2,300 if it got there. Craig seems to think it would be underneath that, but he was just being kind of safe with that estimate. And the general consensus from everybody would be to go ahead and go, forward with it, that, if need be, if we had to go to a formal vote, that, the consensus would be that we, that would be approved to add that additional 2,300 in if necessary.
Another question, Craig, so why are we running the main? So we're just running the main through the driveway pretty much for the future to run it, to continually run it east
Yeah,
instead of running it.
because eventually this land will, it might not be for 10 years, you don't know, but
Yeah.
eventually this is gonna develop. This road's gonna go on through to another road over there. That'll give us a nice loop in there, just to have all the water lines throughout town. 98% of them are looped. You try not to have any dead ends if you can, because water sits stagnant, more so. Plus this way you have constant, consistent pressures throughout town, so. The price of that pipe's $1.77 a foot.
How much is the 8-inch?
8 is 6 something.
Cause now I'm wondering, cause if you come off the main in the ditch, do you have to come off it with 8-inch, or can you come off it with 4?
No, we'd wanna go off that, what's going through that, what I got proposed 8-inch, that would be an actual city.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm looking at is if you come in on our south property line with 4-inch and just go to the pit, and then go north and then go east and forget about the main. For the batting cages,
Okay,
if you just put a 4-inch coming from the ditch and run it east over to the pit,
okay,
or does that not make sense?
we could, the only thing that's our main line coming in town, and that's at 16-inch, whatever it is.
Oh, that's big.
I don't wanna tap that hot under that pressure,
Oh,
and
okay.
that'd mean we have to shut
Well,
those
I'm
down.
just
Yeah.
asking, I didn't know.
Where that 8-inch is at, we actually have, by that hydrant, there's actually a valve there, and it's stubbed out 20
Oh,
feet
okay.
for this reason, for the sports complex.
Or an 8-inch?
It's an 8-inch stubbed out, yep.
Alright, I'm just asking a question.
Yep.
It just seems odd to me to run that
Yeah, I know it
460
looks
foot
like,
south,
yep.
and then turn around and run it 460 feet north.
I just wanted to find a good spot for the
Yeah.
meter pit, and that was what I figured was the best location for that.
Alright,
And the rest of it, like I said, it looks like it's a lot of back and forth, and it is,
it is,
but we have to
yeah.
run everything through the meter. So that way,
that's fine, I'm just
So we don't
doing my
wanna-
due diligence and asking.
It's really
questions.
It's costing us less than $1,000 to do it this way.
yeah, $2.77 a foot, yeah, so. 8-inch pipe is $6.45 a foot.
No, that's fine, I was just
Yep.
curious.
I think the thing I like about it, it's not it's not just a fix, it's not just a Band-Aid, it's not something just to get water out there this year, it's really, you got a good thought process in here to have that 8-inch main going all the way through, provides us a way to get water to the other side of it, up to the industrial ground if we need to.
So what happens if we need
It
water to
drains.
the 20 acres that we have industrial?
Well, we could either come off this 8-inch and run a, which you probably wouldn't wanna do, you'd probably wanna go over then tap that 16-inch.
One just for that
Yeah, just,
development?
yeah, 'cause they'd
Right, so
probably
we'd have
come-
one, another, we need more than just one 8-inch is what I'm getting at,
Yeah.
if something was to develop.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they could probably, if they ran it just to one building, they could probably buy a 6-inch, possibly even a 4, depending on what they need for sprinklers
Yeah.
and water protection. The other thing is with this here, with that hydrant on the end of, by the ball fields there, eventually that's where the, concession stand's gonna be. So we just gotta dig down, pull that off, bring our line up in there, we got the water right there, so.
We need-
Alright, we need a motion, we need to think about how funds, where they're coming from, some of those kind of things. You gotta think about maybe just say as presented. The labor part of it is already figured in to some degree, but,
Make a motion to approve the sports complex water plan as presented.
So,
Was that Nelson?
no,
No. Brennan, got it.
alright, any more discussion? Okay, now we'll vote. Warren? Yeah. Monahan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yep.
Nelson?
yes,
And Brown.
Yep.
completion date,
We are gonna get on this right away and try to have, my goal is to have this done and seeded and have some grass coming up before Jamboree Days for their tournament.
you guys say that, that's,
So that's why I'm trying, we're gonna be,
Matt's over there saying, okay, yeah, I got that tournament coming, man, okay, cool,
we'll be hitting
I
it
understand. You-
quick, so.
you do that. Okay, thanks.
So this is gonna involve, that's gonna involve participation with the committee, right, to the tune of, where'd it go?
Some money.
Didn't I see that somewhere?
I believe, if I saw it, it's in the money set aside for the.
They had like
Is
15,000.
that your report, Teresa? I don't see it on the.
Yeah, so
The
basically,
short thing, right, the shortfall.
2,300, yeah, sure.
yeah, we had 15,000 budgeted. If we use the 17.3, we would need a little extra. It may not be that much, but.
Alright,
Alright, next item up, sports complex committee update. Matt's got that.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, thanks for, moving forward with these things, especially this last vote. I think we're all pleased with the progress that has been made, over the past, I guess, half a year, or so that, I think one of the main things that we see is getting more people involved in our last meeting. On the 11th, we had 12 attendees, where for 3 years, we were lucky to maybe get 5, and that's even with, 3 people missing, so it's nice to see that that's out in front of the community and that we have that momentum building and moving forward. As far as our treasurer's report, our general fund now is at $10,149.60. We paid off some of the bleachers that were ordered, and a new set of soccer goals. As far as just general housekeeping items with our treasurer, we're looking at just getting new mailbox keys, because some previous people had, those have been misplaced, I guess, over the years. Had our tax information sent in to the accountant. We're looking at getting new trailer plates for our trailer that takes out the cans, to recycle. We need to have that done. Having the post office box paid for, and then just general things. We had new signatures added to our bank account for myself and our vice chairperson with that switch that happened 2 meetings ago. As far as those bleachers and soccer goals, those have been delivered. Terry and the crew have those out at the, put those together and have them out at the fields already. So that's nice to see, and we'll get rolling with the spring soccer season here. As far as, let me go over to this side, we discussed just kind of future items. There's so much going on. We're working on narrowing down, our kind of list of important items, action items, as well as things that looking for to purchase. Some purchasing items that we're coming up soon would be the batting cages. The softball and baseball groups are coordinating to work out what they'd like to see between the two groups as far as where they get the batting cages or the style, that type of thing. I guess they're pretty basic, but they're still within whatever they're made with, so they're gonna come with a proposal at our next meeting to move forward with that. We're also looking at portable pitching mound, additional small size soccer goals. Our numbers are increasing, especially at those younger age groups. So we did approve motion to go to Beaverbuilt. They had built those smaller ones that are out there for us the last time around. So we're going to approach them about doing that again. Larger items that we're looking at in the future would be shade structures, especially above those bleacher areas for the softball and baseball fields. Without any trees out there or anything, especially during tournament time and during summer, it gets pretty hot, so that'll be something that we'll be looking at probably at the next couple of meetings. Other future action items that we're putting together is a sponsorship and donation proposal that we've talked about with you as far as bringing in front of the council to get approved, as far as if we have this size of banner to go up in the outfield, it'll be this much or that type of thing. So we have a subcommittee that's going to be working on that. We have enough going on that we've decided to break into subcommittees to meet in between our larger meetings to keep things rolling rather than wait, once a month. So we have one for kind of sponsorships, looking at those small ones that we talked about, just signs, as well as kind of maybe approaching companies for maybe some of those larger donations again. We have another subcommittee that is going to be looking at grants. We talked about in the future some that we found through U.S. Soccer or the state of South Dakota. We've got a couple members already looking to find ones through Major League Baseball, some other organizations. So we'll be meeting and putting, kind of a proposal together as Mitch gets, our next thing put together to tie those pieces together. We think we have a better opportunity to receive these grants when we have multiple groups helping and they see, the city's involved. We've got several different agencies, so we'll be working on those over the next couple months. Other than that, just kind of an update on our spring soccer season coming up. This spring we once again have 22 teams from the under 5 age group up to, we have an under 19 boys team that includes total, between those 22 teams, we have 231 players signed up. We participating through Dakota Alliance that are, in the Hartford area. Some are Tri-Valley kids, but the majority are, Hartford, Humboldt, West Central kids. We do have an additional, most of our high school girls players Out of the team, they have, I believe, 20 players. They play out of a Brandon league, but 18 of the 20 players are West Central girls. So the idea as well is trying to bring, I'm going to be in discussion with their coach to try to bring them in to practice more. I know our girls, rather than driving to Brandon to practice, would prefer to practice here in Hartford, and even bringing some of their games in to Hartford, and then that would bump up our number of players roughly to 249, 250 soccer players in the community, so that are using those fields.
Will we have any games?
Yep, so I've been in discussion with Frank Gernick, the executive director of Dakota Alliance, as well as James Oppenheimer. He does their scheduling as well as a number of things in his role there. We have set aside, originally it was going to be May 19th. Realized, I wasn't paying attention that that's graduation for West Central. So we bumped it up. May 12th is actually going to be a Hartford soccer day. So not all of our teams, but the majority of our teams will have games in Hartford on that Saturday, May 12th. So we're going to try to treat it as a committee, kind of a festival atmosphere. Look at some different opportunities, whether we, ask for Live Bank to bring out their grill, do some things there, and just kind of make it a fun thing to showcase, soccer in our community. And there might be some other games throughout the season here and there where we have games, but May 12th is our big day that we're looking to have things go there. So one thing I forgot earlier is I jumped over, we had it several different places, was Jamboree Days with that tournament coming up, just planning for that. Craig, worked on that other piece for us, so that was great to see that moving forward. One of the things that we're working on is just parking out there. They're just kind of big open lots, and there's not really any rhyme or reason. So whether we get a group of people, volunteers, to help park where we can fit the most, cars in, or, even just setting up some basic posts with some line running through to at least show this is a section, this is a section, this is a section to help with that, so we don't have people, parking up on the grass or, out on Western Avenue. So we'll be addressing that at the next meeting and coming up, and the softball group will pretty much be heading that up as far as that. The other thing with Jamboree Days, our past 2 years, our beer sales have been so successful that, that the Jamboree Committee is looking at taking on that themselves. So as far as one of the sponsorship things that we talked about was, now that throws our main fundraising possibly out the window, so that was another reason for the subcommittee, is to look at, if that goes away, then we've got to find something else, because that has been fairly successful for us over the past couple of years. So, but other than that, we like the direction that everything's headed, and appreciate your support in this and keeping things moving.
When's your next meeting?
Let's see, so it's the second week, it's always the second Sunday, it's the April 8th. Sunday, April 8th, at 7 p.m. at Pizza Ranch for the time being.
Okay, Easter.
That's on your calendar, but
No.
that's too.
Is it on there?
Yep.
Thank you.
Easter's the first, right?
Yeah.
Yep, it'll be a week after.
Hey Matt, you, history lesson here, do we still have 2 batting cages available? Yes, I mean, the one out there
Yeah, the other
is
one's
kinda jacked up, right?
Yeah, that's kind of they made it basically from poles and leftover stuff.
Right.
And one of the things there that's been an issue is just the safety with those poles that they have. The, ball coming off the bat, hitting the pole and coming back to the, the pitcher, the coach who's pitching behind the screen here, they got protection here, but then, the big pole right behind them here on either side, there have been issues with, comebackers, and getting people. So it kind of replacing that and coming up with a new one has to do, especially about safety, I think would be the big.
2 more questions. Do you still keep the jugs out of the shed by the city park? The jugs?
The machine, the pitching machine.
Yeah.
That one that would be, I'm not aware that the baseball, softball groups would. I think that's still, they have that, that's under their.
Jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's their equipment.
So you get for purchase, if you wanted one, that'd be on your wish list somewhere down the line.
Yeah, we would work with the groups and see, depending on, and that's where we'd like to head, as we get going, that are, we kind of provide some extra things to those organizations to have out at those fields for practice or game situation.
And last question, are the city parks still being utilized?
I think on a, with the softball and groups, I know they're using, the city park fields. That's still right now kind of a separate, I guess, organization. BJ Olson, who's with our, who's our vice chair, he is kind of organizing between the two now. So that's just kind of coming into being combined, where we're aware in the past that city park field or anything else has been a complete separate piece.
Didn't realize that.
So.
Okay, thank you.
One thing to add is, softball association, they're up 55 kids this year. Last year.
55 from last year.
So it's good to soccer up. I haven't heard anything baseball.
Baseball, I believe, is up too.
Baseball's up. And they're looking at Bobby Needles and stuff, and they're looking at kind of work some of the kids practicing up there and stuff too.
Right. Well, and just kind of as far as moving forward, talking about the growth, one thing that we didn't touch on, and I don't think you'd covered it, is just the discussions that Teresa and Craig and I have had on the rec director position. I think one of the things is we want to make sure that when we present it, it's done correctly, that we have everything covered, that we just don't want to throw something out there and not really know what this person is going to do in February or January when this is. So, I know Teresa's met with the school district, because I think there would be some overlap or concern on how that would look with community ed, where I could see that could be a role of the park and rec director taking on some of what happens there, as well as then working with the other sports on seeing if they're willing to, or how they would want to work with park and rec director. Especially, we would be targeting, I think, at the start, at the younger age groups, those recreational, kindergarten up to possibly 3rd, 4th grade, before they start maybe in those tournament teams or those type of things. So how those groups would be willing to, work with that, so.
Thank you, Matt. All right, with that, we move to our next one, Junior Days update.
Believe it or not, it's March and we're already in Permian. That's going to be handed down a tentative schedule. I will say the tentative schedule is about 90 to 95% complete already. So we're ahead of schedule there. A lot of it's going to look the same as what you guys have seen in the past from Jamboree Days. We do have a few additions. Wednesday and Thursday is mostly Little Miss Hartford. Again, going with movie night carnival. With Friday, you'll see a full list there. We are adding a quilt show back into it for Saturday, or Friday and Saturday. So there's a slight addition there. One other thing that we're looking at for Friday night, since we did have a lot of people that wanted to stay around the park, we had a lot of interest in having some live music potentially after the burnout. Now, you will notice though, the time on that, we're looking at potentially like a 10 to midnight. We are aware that the park does have the 11 o'clock shutdown, so I don't know that we need to do anything with it now, but I know on our special event when we come there, kind of looking at you guys to see if that's something that we can extend to be midnight there, just to kind of keep some people there since they were staying there anyway. Might as well entertain them. Let's see, for Saturday, a lot of it you're gonna see is the same. I don't even really know that much that has changed throughout the day on Saturday. We are adding back in a community worship service later in the afternoon. It'll be at the park. There'll be some music up until that point. And then actually it is the church municipalities that are coming together and they're going to work together to coordinate that. For anybody who wants to stay for that. The street dance, we will have 2 bands again. You'll notice it's not quite the big name like last year. That's okay, we're good with that. Both of these contracts are very standard contracts. There's nothing out of the ordinary. There's no fun production people we have to work with, anything like that. So it's a little bit more than standard. We're gonna start a little bit earlier with Wise Guys and then wrap up the evening with Brandon Jones. That will go until the 1 o'clock time. We did change, we're not gonna have an actual gate like we did last year, but we are gonna do like a wristband charge. That way we're making sure that everybody's carded properly. We do have security that will be there. We've already reached out to them, we've already booked them. So like last year we had witch hunt, thanks to you guys working on that, but we've worked with a relationship with them, got their advice on it. So we are gonna do a $5 wristband charge, which allows them to get the wristband to drink. That way it's easier for the deputies to know who can and who can't. And that also assists us with being able to make sure everybody's carded appropriately. And we do indicate that the wristbands are required to have alcohol on the street during the street dance. Go into the bar, that's fine, then it's the bar's responsibility, but if you do bring alcohol outside, that will be monitored. For Saturday for in this stage, it's very similar to what we have. We've actually this year we're kind of excited. We're gonna have West Central actually be part of it. I've been working with Mr. I, so we are bringing our band and our drum line into it. So from the parade into the stage, we have some obviously the free entertainment for the kids in the park, and then we'll wrap up on Sunday like we have in the past with the tractor pull. I've been working hand in hand with, and also in addition to the softball tournaments on Saturday. I've been working with Sherry pretty closely with the chamber. We've been working pretty much side by side. We do feel that it is still a better fit for the chamber to go ahead and do carnival because they'll do pre-sales on their tickets. Nobody in our committee, like myself, I work an 8 to 5 at the office. There's no way I'm selling tickets during the day. Don't have a business, so I don't want people coming to my house at all hours either, as I do also work some at night. So. Talking with them, they do have chamber members that are willing to have the pre-sales tickets. They've also been working directly with Jeff Mossman to set up the carnivals. We're gonna have a wider range of rides from smaller kids all the way through to the teens, to also bring in some of the teenage rides as well. So Sherry and I have actually been talking back and forth pretty regularly, so it's a pretty good relationship there as well. Questions? We just wanted to bring this to you earlier rather than later.
Very well
So,
done.
Leah, you might want to mention the beer sales.
Oh, yeah, the beer sales. We are looking at the beer sales. We've already talked with insurance. It's too early for us to do insurance, so it is still pending because we have to get event insurance. Dave couldn't really say one way or the other how that would go. It's a little bit more lengthy insurance because obviously we have to have our event insurance. He said mid-April would be the soonest we can start on that. So I actually already have it tagged that I'll be going in the Dave's office there. But we are looking at from a committee, just bringing it and we're trying to make it a little bit more socialized to where everything's in one location. That would be like on Friday night, your car registration, your burnout registration, your beer sales, it's gonna be kind of consolidated in one area so people are a little bit more where know to go, but also that way we can kind of watch as well Friday night in the park that it's getting carded. Obviously, you don't have quite the security you would there, but that way we're trying to watch it as much as we can as far as the carding piece. So we'll let you know more as we know more on that, but that's kind of what we're looking for is the Jamboree Committee's gonna take on the responsibility of that.
And beer sales for Saturday night as well, anything on the street, okay. Okay.
And we've actually added a couple of fresh people to our committee, so it's kind of good to get some fresh ideas, so that helps as well.
Any new wrinkles on there as you've struck out on your own, basically as your own entity this year?
No, it's going actually extremely well. We've just got our certificate, so everything is 100% all by ourselves, so no, it's actually going very
Real
well.
smooth. Good. Good. Any other questions?
And we'll be back, so, and don't hesitate to reach out to me. I believe my correct number's on the site now, right?
It is.
All right,
Is there any, like, for their special events, permits and all those kind of things? There's not, they can't get those in too early, can they? I mean, if they're starting to get those
so
in
we
by,
have to do the beer part of it, we have to go out with your normal publishing
suppose
pieces of it.
April, May?
Yeah. I mean, they gotta make sure you get that early enough, so we get all the publication
Yeah.
dates done.
Yep.
If you're gonna be doing the liquor sales, or liquor sales.
It's already done.
Okay.
Good job, Leo.
All right,
All right,
thank you. All right, last item is Leadership South Dakota class. Jesse has requested to go to this Leadership South Dakota class. It's got quite a bit of information in our packet here for this. Teresa, I assume you may be representing him on this tonight?
I guess. Yeah, that's some
Are you
information.
familiar with this group or this class, this?
I'm not familiar with this class in particular. I don't know anyone who's gone to it. He has brought me the information and we looked at it on the website and I've discussed it with him. You know, it's basically a 7-month course that he'd be taking. It'd be 2 or 3 days each month. Each month they would focus on different topics, as far as, you know, some of it's about, you know, South Dakota law, some of it's about communication, some of it's about being a leader and how to take on that role, some of it's communication. I mean, they focus on different things at each class. So, you know, Jesse would like to attend this. I think he's had some people from Makita and some other organizations he's worked with saying that it is. He's been told it's been a good class. And, you know, we brought him in here, not giving him really any training at all and just saying, hey, go out and do it. So it looks like this would cover, you know, it'd be an education source. It'll kind of help him with that, kind of help him with, you know, maybe his communication. It'll help him with his networking with, you know, the other people attending it and you know, people putting on the classes. So I don't think it would be a bad thing. It's a little bit more than we usually spend in training, but, you know, the overall benefit, you know, might be a good thing, so.
What's the grant process, any idea?
So the tuition, like I said, it's a little pricey, it's $3,000 is cost, and that'll cover, you know, his hotel, his meals and everything. But they do have, and I don't know if you guys went onto the website at all from the information we gave you, but they do have where you can apply for some reimbursements, get a reimbursement for that. And then he also thought, there's also programs out there from various business and other entities that he might get some reimbursement on. I mean, we don't know up front if we can get that or not, but we'll certainly apply for it, so, you know, we could get some of that reimbursed to us.
I see there's in different communities, is there a chance Hartford could be, and I never digress. How many persons on the average attend or are a part of this class?
I could not tell you what their class size, I
Um,
don't know, there
If
was
you click
no.
on that
Yeah,
one.
there's a,
I saw that, I
There's
saw-
quite a few, because it says class of 2018.
yeah,
Oh, that's,
I bet there was, well, 1, 2, 3.
there's quite a few.
oh, that was 2018, I thought it was the overall.
30, 35, 40,
Oh, there's-
47 it looks like.
Okay,
That was this year's.
okay,
Math on that, I think.
That's good.
well done, good job. Okay.
And you actually apply for the program, I mean, you're not automatically
Yeah,
accepted.
you're not
you
automatic, you've
apply.
gotta apply for the program and they'll decide whether to take you in, cause
Yep.
they always, accept so many.
And the 3K is due when?
Well, he has to fill out his application, there's $50 application fee, we would fill that out and send that in as soon as possible, I would assume, cause once they filled up,
Yeah.
I would imagine what would happen is he'd find out whether or not he's accepted sometime this early spring, summer. And then it looks like classes start in September, so it's probably gonna be due this summer if he's approved to
Yeah.
go. I think what he's asking is, set aside funds so that he can feel confident in applying for it, knowing that we would support it if he's accepted.
Out of the general, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We don't have nothing budgeted for his training.
Well, we have, he's part of the finance office, we have $2,000 expense for training, but that's everybody, we go the finance officer, so this would kind of be over and above that. We never included this at budget time, this big of expense.
Curious, has he talked with HAVC about going?
Not Friday, he didn't. He didn't bring it up Friday at all.
Haven't heard anything about it yet.
I'd be curious to have some feedback from both HAVC and Chamber if they thought it was a good idea and if they'd be interested in the cost share, but either way, I think it might be a good idea. Approve him to apply.
I talked to Jesse today, he'd really like to go to this,
Yeah, I know
he'd really like to go.
I know, I look at it and think, okay, we want more training, we want to be able to provide that for our employees, for him. And the nice thing is this isn't a Kansas City group where you're not gonna make any connections around the area, it's not a St. Louis thing. It's a South Dakota, like if you need to be able to find people you can help get things done with, that's probably where you're gonna find them, so
I'll make a
I
motion
support
to
it.
let him apply and attend if approved.
Second.
More
Is it paid
discussion.
for it, I guess I should say that, huh?
From,
Or is that pretty self-explanatory?
I think so.
Okay.
If you guys have looked at the website on what the current 7 courses are, the 7 months, do you feel that this is something that would be beneficial to his job, or I'm thinking I'm not opposed to sending him to classes, but I wonder if this is the one to send him to.
I was thinking the same thing, I'm not opposed either, I'd like to get a little bit more information on it.
Just to touch on it, September, go behind the scenes,
Yeah, it's really brief.
of South Dakota state government to learn how our state leadership works. October, gain valuable insight into the state's #1 industry, agriculture. November is Rapid City tourism and impact of military assistance in our state. January is in Huron, learn about diversity in small communities. February is Kyle, historical issues impacting life on 9 reservations. March is Sioux Falls, healthcare and financial services, and the 8th month is Chamberlain for graduation. And, I mean, not that those aren't meaningful, but in the realm of economic development, I wonder how pertinent they are. And I have no idea what's out there for grooming a economic developer, but I don't know.
I think you might be hard pressed to find something that's going to be more specific to that job. you know what I mean?
I
I
do.
don't know if it exists.
But I would rather, I mean, I would rather target at the, what's that, the education center, what's that place called?
Or University
University
Center.
Center.
University, I mean, literally pay for targeted classes at the university center than, you know, what this is, I guess.
Are they available?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think where I see the value in this is getting general leadership assistance, better communication, meeting people. Yeah, you're traveling to different parts, but you're also gaining knowledge in the state. But you're also meeting a lot of people that I would say are influential and could help him when he needs to try to land somebody here. Goes referral base, you might say, which I think is critical in this. I mean, you see some people from cities that graduated, some people from the universities, banking, law firms. I don't know.
I think with any training, a lot of it too is, like you point out, the networking, the people
Right.
that you meet and make contact with and could help you. I mean, courses themselves are good or what, but it's good to make those contacts as well.
And they are at least.
I'm not saying
spread
you're wrong.
around.
I'm just saying, I think just the networking side would be big.
I think it focuses on a lot of South Dakota industry though too. I mean, we're looking at ag here, tourism, small town
So-
diversity, all of it.
If he was accepted, would we be looking at cost sharing with the Chamber and the HADC, or would they just be looking to pay the rate? Cause I assume that the city, I mean, if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in Rapid City, the city would pay him to drive to Rapid City, pay him to drive back, pay to put him in a hotel, and pay him his wages for 3 days. Just like we do with Craig and Neil and Jesse and you for that matter, so.
Or was there something on here I read that somewhere that it was on a weekend or something? I mean, that's where,
Well, even if it was, you'd pay him, so
well, right, I mean,
Right.
it doesn't matter. How many days is it? What is it?
2 a month, 2, 600.
3 a month,
Yeah,
17, 18, 19, so 21 days, 21 days mileage, boarding, per diem.
I say the 3,000 I think included though, his meals and hotel and whatnot.
So I thought
Or
it
not
did
paying them.
include it.
That's not.
That's just registration, that is what I read.
Oops.
Maybe meals, I don't think it's transportation to and, well, it's not transportation to and from, or the hotel expense.
That's, by the time it's all said and done, we're gonna have $6 grand in it. $6 grand for 21 days, and I just wonder whether that money could be better well spent on more specific training, but it's too bad he's not here to argue with me.
when does he need to fill this application out? Is there a certain deadline?
Application window begins February 1st, 2018, closes March 31st of this month.
So, yeah.
So
$6
fairly
grand
soon.
would get you a semester at the university center.
You think $6 grand, huh, Mark? Where do you think the other, all in hotel expenses and meals?
Oh, meals, travel, hotel, I'll bet you'd eat up $6 grand, plus 21 days. I'll bet-
But, so,
The soup also goes with it.
mean, some of this is, we're looking at.
Yeah, that's all.
You're gonna spend as much as you do on the tuition,
To take care of the rest of it.
I would say.
The additional $3,000, Jeremy, divided by 21 days is only $143 a day. Well, you might not eat 142 a day, but I'll bet you're pretty close.
Yeah, a portion of that though, I mean, we're looking at some of the spends here in Sioux Falls,
Brookings.
some of it's in Brookings.
Here, well, that you can come home and see Paul.
We said I'm throwing it out there.
I know, I hear
That's
you.
good.
I mean, oh, you gotta figure $200 a night. That time you can,
He said 50 something a day.
Like I said, I'm not debating the,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a good course, I just wonder whether, like I said, I just wonder whether the money could be spent in a more specific area. And like I said, I mean, not knowing what the university center has to offer, I mean, I had no idea whether they even had anything close to knocking on the door of what I would like to see him get.
Take it, this is the kind of thing that, well, we all don't know, I guess. I was gonna say, it's probably not the kind of thing you apply for and turn down, but we don't know. I was gonna say, we could always let them just
First time
apply
I've
and
seen
talk
it,
about it
yep.
later, but,
I mean, you can get a police officer, I mean, it's all walks of life, it's not like it's,
I think
you can't say it's just for that industry.
No, I'm not saying, no, I'm not saying it is.
I think that's where I'm, I don't know.
What was our motion to,
Motion was to let him apply and attend, if he's approved.
Like I said, he can apply for some tuition reimbursement up to $1,500, so. Like, and that's no guarantee, no.
When does the application have to be in?
March 31st.
Oh, of course.
So-
Probably doesn't want to be tomorrow.
Okay, you got any more discussion,
There's just
questions?
stupid question here, but why not? When's he, gonna get married again?
October, first
I know
weekend
it's
in October?
First weekend in October, so he will not be on his honeymoon October 17th through the 19th, is that correct?
And when does he get married, October what?
I don't know, and I thought he was taking, when am I taking 2 weeks vacation for,
Could be.
Well, let's
Shall I
see.
go to
I don't know.
He never looked at that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I would
Right
guess.
here on
I don't know when his,
Okay, well, I mean, I would think that he would look at this and maybe
You
realize.
would think he would have, but I
mean,
can't tell you for sure though.
Because I'll be upset if we pay for this, and he's looking at the schedule like we are right now.
I think that's a conversation we could have before he applies, right?
Well, no, not really, because he's got to apply by the 31st.
Doesn't he know right now? I mean, if we called him now and said, how long's your honeymoon?
Yeah. I'm sure he knows.
I mean,
I'm not gonna try to push.
I really don't get it.
Well,
That's the issue.
Loaded.
Like, will you be back by September
That's the
19th
one
for
she's-
first class, yes or no? No, I won't. Well, then don't apply.
Bingo.
That's something.
Teresa, when
This
did
is
you?
common sense.
My point
If
is
I
that.
could sell, I'd be a billionaire.
He brought this to me, well, he wanted it on the agenda about a couple weeks ago though. I think it was after our last meeting, so, but I've known about it for a couple of weeks, yeah. I think he just missed the last agenda, and so he wanted to get on this, cause the deadline was coming up.
Alright. More questions? Alright, let's vote. Anybody need to hear the motion again?
Yeah.
Yes?
okay, Brenneman moves to let him apply and attend if accepted, Nelson second. And I will put, attend the leadership conference.
And also assume he'll apply for assistance.
Yeah, and I said we're gonna try to find whatever assistance we can.
Okay, all right, let's vote. Nelson,
Yes.
Warren,
Yeah.
Brennan,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
and Ryan.
No.
Okay. All right, motion carries. And do we have anything for correspondence that we can cover? Hearing none. Anything for executive session?
Not this time.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay,
Personnel.
okay, just need a motion to run on the personnel.
So make motion to executive session for personnel.
Second. Hey, Matt, don't run. I got-
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah,
We made it for it last night.
yeah.
Cool.
We're out of here 21 minutes last.
You do realize the packet was 65 pages.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?